engaged in, Mr. Michael Pursoon. He's with the law firm of Dupree, Schwartz, and Gahagan. I also want to recognize my board of trustees that is sitting with us here in the room today that's passed this measure, this landmark measure, which is, we have trustee Pat Alonzi, trustee Greg Ramirez, trustee Dan Helker, trustee Paul Marchiori. Also, again, thank you for coming. We have called for this press conference in order to announce the approval of a landmark piece of legislation, an ordinance, a local ordinance in the Village of Lyons, which will aim to crack down on the sale of guns to straw purchasers. We have worked closely with our local gun shop, Midwest Sporting Goods, the owners of that gun shop, to craft policy and procedures that calls for closer cooperation between the village and the gun store. And this is in order to help provide law enforcement officials with more information in their efforts to curb illegal use of firearms. Through this partnership, the Village of Lyons is taking a proactive step forward in ensuring that all laws are upheld while helping to prevent any future sales of guns that might end up in the hands of the wrong people. The approved ordinance, which was just approved today, is a direct response to a lawsuit filed against the Village of Lyons in July by Chicago activists who wanted to hold Lyons and 2 other suburban communities accountable for and responsible for guns sold legally at a gun shop that were maybe later ended up in the wrong hands. Although the Village of Lyons was confident that we would prevail in this lawsuit, we also did think that implementing this type of ordinance was necessary. A few key components of this ordinance will include that will require the gun shop to adhere to local requirements and keep and disclose certain records to the village, such as information on individuals denied gun purchases, information of purchasers who appear to be straw buyers, records regarding gun trace information received from the ATF and the Illinois State Police. Additionally, the gun shop must undergo at least 2 yearly inspections with the Lyons Police Department collectively with the Cook County Sheriff's Department. Such inspections will determine whether the store is maintaining surveillance cameras, in particular the point of sale, safe storage of weapons and ammunition, alarm systems, and exterior lighting. The ordinance requires internal record keeping and procedures and inventory audits. Further information, further on this ordinance requires employee background checks and employee training. Importantly, the shop must maintain a do not sell list and document all persons who purchase more than 1 firearm in a 12-month period. There will be forthcoming an intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Lyons and the Cook County Sheriff's Department to work collectively while inspecting and monitoring this gun shop. Enforcement mechanisms will also be put in place where the mayor's office may suspend or revoke the business license of the gun shop if necessary for failure to comply with the new ordinance. This is about being practical and proactive to prevent the sale of guns to the wrong people. The village stands firmly behind our local gun shop, and we believe they are great operators, but at the same time, we did feel more regulation was required, and we believe that by working together, positive changes can be made to ensure that the safety is given to not only our community, but all of our surrounding communities. I'd like to, at this time, thank Midwest Sporting Goods for their close cooperation, and also I would like to also thank our local law enforcement officials, the Village of Lyons Police Department, and also the Cook County Sheriff's Department. I'd also like to thank our attorney, Bert Olson, for crafting this legislation, and I'd also like to thank the plaintiff's attorney for working with us. I'd like to turn to Mr. Michael Pursoon for the plaintiff's attorney and offer him the chance to comment on this.
I'm Michael Pursoon of the law firm Dupree, Schwartz, and Gahagan Limited. Our firm represents the plaintiffs in this lawsuit to stop and reduce gun violence in Illinois, particularly impacting our African-American neighborhoods. I want to thank Mayor Getty and the trustees for their great work on this, our plaintiffs, and in particular the Gun Violence Prevention PAC for all the work that they've helped in this lawsuit and in this fight. This ordinance shows that once again that there's no problem that's so intractable that we can't do something about it when we put our mind to it as a society. What it takes is the political courage to confront a problem and the political will to do something about it. When those two things come together to address a problem, there's really nothing we can't do. When you look at this type of leadership that Lyons has shown, we're so grateful for it in really working to take meaningful steps to reduce gun violence. It's the type of leadership you've seen before, from the landmark efforts of Mayor Bloomberg in New York City to even people like Barack Obama. I understand he's in town today to watch the Bulls beat the Cavs, and before that he made a few comments recognizing that this problem of gun violence, this scourge in our communities, isn't something that we can all fight by ourselves and that we need to come together and work on it. We think we're trying to do our part to do that. We appreciate the Village of Lyons and Mayor Getty in particular in really working to do the same thing. And we hope that the President really steps up to the plate on this also. We think that he could take this ordinance and take a look at our lawsuit and send a memo around to Loretta Lynch, who I understand is at home sick today, and really have the Department of Justice take a look at it to see what we can do nationwide, not just here in Illinois and not just here in Lyons. Thank you.
This time, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to field some of those.
Can you talk a little bit about the cooperation from Midwest and helping to craft this ordinance? How open were they to accepting some of these changes?
Yeah, absolutely. Midwest Sporting Goods has been in Lyons for 52 years. We wanted to make sure that we were not infringing on that business. We were not infringing on their rights, and we were also not going to do anything to put that business put them out of business. So that was very important to us. So once we had come down to the real requirements that we wanted to put on their place of business, we wanted to check with them to make sure that none of those were going to be burdensome to them to the degree that would hurt their everyday business. So for instance, the inspections, those are not to interrupt normal business when we come in and do those inspections. They should still be able to operate and conduct sales like they normally would.
Do they, from what you know, do they agree that these won't be burdensome, that these are things that they can incorporate into their
Yes.
day-to-day business?
Yes.
Can you also talk about the importance of having the sheriff's office collaborate with you to help with enforcement?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to comment on that. I think it's important that Lyons has the access to this data, but then also has the thought process to share that data with somebody like Pickle County Sheriff's Office, so they can actually do something with it by either notifying other gun shops that there might be somebody looking to purchase illegal guns, or there might be a certain individual that is a straw buyer. It's really about interfacing and getting that information out, and that the Sheriff's Office will be the conduit for that.
Maybe, Mr. Olson, maybe you can address this. What, if any vulnerabilities are there with this ordinance in terms of any challenges from gun rights activists or NRA? What, if any, vulnerabilities, please?
And that's a good question. And working with the gun shop and their attorneys, we also get input from the NRA. Of course, the NRA is not real interested in strict regulation, but they did provide input to make the ordinance livable with this gun shop, recognizing that this ordinance could be passed along to other municipalities and other gun shops, which is our intent here. The gun shops in Illinois are regulated or checked by the ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms arm of the Department of Justice, and that's all, which was kind of surprising to me when we started doing some research that no one looks at the gun shops except ATF every year or every 2 years. This will allow Cook County and Lyons Police to come in and take a look and make sure everything's in order, that their inventory is correct, that nothing has been stolen, that straw purchasers have not purchased guns, or if they have attempted to purchase guns, that the Midwest has kept a record of it, turned it over to us, and then we've dispersed it to the appropriate authorities. If you check with Midwest, I think they have a press release to issue also.
And so you said the NRA did provide some input, some,
Yes.
so,
Two Midwest was provided to me.
okay.
Yes.
And so you guys feel confident that you've reached a good compromise?
I'm not gonna say I reached a compromise with the NRA, with the NRA. I'm saying that I think Lyons is protected because we're not doing anything to harm people's Second Amendment rights to bear arms. We're just asking our gun shop to abide by business regulations, that's all.
So can you, address what will happen with the lawsuit now? Do you anticipate dropping the Village of Lyons from the lawsuit?
We will dismiss the Village of Lyons from the lawsuit. Like, so we appreciate them coming and really getting this great ordinance in place to reduce gun violence. We'll proceed with the other two defendants, and if we identify other cases, we'll look at pursuing those as well. We think that gun violence remains a huge problem, particularly in Chicago, and we're gonna do everything we can to reduce it.
Can any of you talk about, how will you gauge success with this ordinance? You know, how would you, how would, after a year or two or whatever period of time, how would you, be able to tell that it's having its intended effect?
Well, I think it's kind of a truism to say, but time will only tell. You know, when we brought this lawsuit, and I think in looking at this ordinance, we didn't just come up with this stuff out of thin air. You know, these are established best practices that are recognized by people who have really looked at this. I mentioned Mayor Bloomberg earlier. He did a lot of work in New York that really led to some of these further studies. There's reports published by the University of Chicago, Johns Hopkins, that show this. So these are what we think are the best practices that are out there. And we're appreciative that the Village of Lyons took the axe to put these into an ordinance and get it on the books.
Thank you again. Nikki has some press packets if anybody needs one. Thank you so much.